Greetings and welcome back to For Fun Friday, where I, your somewhat musically talented host, attempts to play an archetype based on the one favorite song of Yugioh. Yeah, that one. In this episode, we have yet another For Fun requested deck, this time done by J-Chip for Solfachord. I'll be honest with you on this one, Chief. Pendulums are hard enough for me to understand to begin with, and a pendulum archetype that doesn't really manage to do a lot in today's metagame is even worse. But they do have quite a few very interesting interactions in their deck, so I figured it'd be good enough to take a look at. Without any further ado, let's have a look at the deck list we're attempting to play today to sort of try and grip ourselves with what a pendulum deck really is. First of all, we're playing a Trias Hierarchia, simply because this is a very easy card off of Diviner, which you're going to see in just a second. Diviner in particular is going to be able to send a Trias Hierarchia, then using the Hierarchia, I'm just going to call it Trif. Using Trif's effect to then tribute the Diviner lets us trigger the Diviner effect, which is going to allow us to special summon Yugioh. Yugioh is going to allow us to add a Solfachord monster from our deck to our hand. Simply put, this is a very nice sort of resource loop that we can use Diviner for. In addition to this, we are playing three Solfachord Coolia. We are just going to call them Solfachords because they have different do-re-mi basis because, you know, they're musics. Coolia has a couple of effects. First of all, we can special summon it from our hand by tributing two Pendulum monsters, which pretty much never comes up. Once per turn, we can also target a face-up card our opponent controls, or two if we have an odd pendulum scale, and negate the effect until the end of the turn. When an effect of a monster on the field is activated with an equal or lower attack than the highest pendulum scale in your pendulum zone times 300, you can destroy that monster. The highest pendulum scale we have in the deck is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So 2400 attack, we can just destroy a card that activates its effect. It comes up very rarely, but it is still one of the strongest beaters we have in Solfachord at 2700, so it's worth running 3 of. We're then playing 3 Angelia. Angelia has the best art in the entire game, because Angelia has the Doot. For those that have visited the streams or my Discord, you would know that the Doot is one of the best emotes we have access to. All hail Angelia, Doot master of all. So, for Angelia effect, if you have an odd pendulum scale, your Solfachord monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step, so we basically shut off our opponent's back row. During the main phase, we can also tribute a Solfachord pendulum monster, even if it's face down, and if we do, we can special summon a Solfachord pendulum monster from our deck whose pendulum scale is 2 higher or 2 lower than that monster. It's a bit weird to get your hand around what you can special summon with Angelia, and to be honest, I rarely use the effect, and even if I do it only so I can get Angelia back into the extra deck. Then we are playing 3 copies of Fancia. Fancia is one of the best normal summons we have access to. Simply put, when we normal summon it, we can add a Solfachord Pendulum monster from our deck to our extra deck face up, basically letting us do pendulum shenanigans. We then have 3 Solfachord one-ofs. We are playing one of Yugioh. Yugioh is really weird. We can target an effect monster our opponent controls, and if we have an even pendulum scale, we can target a spell and trap card and banish it when it leaves the field. It comes up sometimes with graveyard interactions, but it's quite rare that the effect is really useful. Then, also at the start, or once per turn, at the start of the damage tab, if it battles a monster with an equal or higher attack than the lowest pendulum scale, it destroys the monster. So it's simply a very bad construct, if anything else. We then have a one-off Elitia, or Elitia. I'm not entirely sure, but this, the little tiny Solfachord here is rivaling Doot, which is adorable. If there's anything I can say for this archetype, every single card in it is freaking adorable. If we have an even pendulum scale, we take no damage from battles involving Solfachord pendulum monsters. If this card is normal special summon, we can target spell, trap, or opponent control and return it to the hand. It's not great, but it's fodder for the extra deck. We then have one Dreamia. Dreamia also has the Flute Tutor, which is amazing. While you have an odd pendulum scale, if a Solfachord pendulum monster card you control be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can destroy this card instead of one of those cards. If you control a Solfachord card in a pendulum zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. It is just a free special summon. Literally the only reason it's there. It's searchable off of our Yugioh, so we can Yugioh, we can go into Dreamia, we can go into any of our links in order to pendulum summon them back, and yalla yalla, you know the drill by there. Then, of course, we are playing some hand traps. We're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Effect Veiler, simply because we are playing Celine in the extra deck. It is the best option we have. We're then playing 2 Pot of Extravagance. might be a bit weird, you say, in a pendulum deck where most of your cards are going to be face up in the extra deck, but we seriously need the draw power, and prosperity is not very good in this deck. We need amount of cards in pendulum so we can pendulum summon. We then have one of, if not the best pendulum support card ever printed. This card, like, okay, not counting Electromite. Electromite's banned. We don't care about that one here. But Solfachord Elegance is really, really good. We can place a Solfachord Pendulum monster from our deck into the Pendulum Zone, so just scale 1 for free. Or, if we're holding a scale, we can add a Solfachord Pendulum monster from our hand to the extra deck and then get 2 scales on the field. For free. Or, it has a third effect for some reason. We can add 2 cards, 1 odd and 1 even pendulum scale from our pendulum zones to the extra deck face up, and if we do, we can draw 2. So we can scale 2, activate Elegance, move our scales to the face up extra deck, and draw 2 cards. It comes up. It's a really, really good card. Do not underestimate Elegance. Elegance is ridiculous. We then have 1 Solfachord Scale. Scale is not really a super good card, but I decided to play 1 copy of it anyway. If we have, basically it counts the amount of Solfachord Pendulum monsters we control, including in the scales. If we have 3, we can return a Pendulum Zone to the hand, and then place a Pendulum monster from the extra deck into our Pendulum Zone. If we have 5, we can special summon a Pendulum monster from our hand, and if we have 7, we can destroy all face-up card our opponent controls. This almost never works, but it's there. Then we have 3 Solfachord Harmonia, their field spell, and this is actually really useful. We can add a face-up Solfachord Pendulum monster from our extra deck to our hand, meaning we get an extra summon, because Master Rule 5 killed pendulums. We can increase the pendulum scale of a Solfachord by 1, meaning we can special summon our level 8, which is Coolia. And then, if we control Solfachord Pendulum monsters with at least 3 different even pendulum scales, or at least 3 different odd pendulum scales, we can destroy a monster our opponent controls. Each one of these effects is once per turn, so if we fulfill the criteria of all of them, we can do all of them. Then we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. It's Imperm, what can I say? And then Solfachord Musicia. Musicia is also very interesting, because depending on what kind of pendulum scales we have, it will do different effects. If we only have an odd pendulum scale, we can special summon 1 face-up Solfachord Pendulum monster with an odd pendulum scale from the extra deck. Same thing for even, and if we control both an even and an odd, we can target a card our opponent controls and destroy it. Basically put, this lets us special summon some more monsters, or manipulate our opponent's field to some degree. Extra deck wise, we're running an Omega. We rarely synchro summon, but it does have a use if we get hit by something like a Maximus. The Arrival Cyber's Ignister is very interesting here, because every single of our Solfachord monsters have a different attribute except for 2 of them, meaning we can very easily get up to 4 or 5 different attributes for an Ignister if the game goes long enough. Underworld of the Goddess of the Coast World, because we're playing a pendulum deck, we're going to have a lot of materials to waste. 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax, because it is very easy to summon things from the extra deck here, and that's the only criteria for Avramax. Access Code Talker for obvious reasons, Appaloosa for obvious reasons, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because again, we can very easily summon 3 different names, and having a banish on command is very good. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Celine to go into access code, 3 Grand Solfachord Musacia. Musacia is basically Electromite. It's weird. It's Electromite with a restriction. During the main phase, we can add a Pendulum monster from our hand to the extra deck face up, and 1 face up Pendulum monster from our extra deck to the hand, as long as one of them has an even scale and the other has an odd scale. When you Pendulum summon a Solfachord monster, you can target one of them to add 1 Solfachord Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, whose level equals the Pendulum scale of that monster. This thing both searches our deck, fixes our extra deck hand ratio, and has some massive setups going for it. However, making use of it is really difficult, but it's still one of the better cards in the deck, so we're running 3. Nightmare Phoenix is up next. You know this for good reason. 1 IP Masquerena, because, again, we have a lot of materials, may as well use them, and 1 Link Karibo. Now, take for granted, I'm not a Pendulum player, and this is going to be a terrible episode. But I'm going for it anyway. Let's play some games with Solfachord. Alright then, Mr. Tormanac. Let's see what you've got. We've also zoomed out the camera for this episode, because I noticed that in the last one that it got really, really weird. Unfortunately, our scales here are terrible. Really terrible. And this is an issue with pendulum decks. You're gonna draw hands like this a lot that don't do anything. We can give our opponent information on what we're playing, which, you know, doesn't do much here. We can scale our Angelia. Doesn't do anything. We can't summon anything in this hand. We can't even tribute summon anything here. So, no. We're just gonna set our Musicia. Pass. We've got nothing more on this one, Chief, unfortunately. It's very hard to run other pendulum-based starters in this deck as well, because what we're looking at is an archetype that is really, really dependent on their own names for even and odd pendulum scales. Unfortunately, we're playing up against Hero, so we lose. There's nothing more to it here. We just lose. We've essentially lost the game here and there. They already got the Ferris. We have to hit this, otherwise we just straight up lose. Yeah, okay, they have the Cold Bite. We're just gonna scoop right here. Let's go another game. Alright then, Seto Kaiba. Are we gonna be able to play the game this time? We actually opened 3 pendulums, which is kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie here. This is decent. It's not great, but it is most certainly decent. We have a 2 scale and an 8 scale. Unfortunately, we kind of need the 8 scale, which is sad, because we need to normal summon this to search, so we're gonna do that. Let's activate Do Solfachord Yugioh, because we are going to need a higher scale. We have a 2 scale, we have a 1 scale. We could search for our 7 scale in Dreamia, but I don't think we need to do that. We actually have quite a okay way here. Let's search for Dreamia off of our Yugioh, because we do need to set one of our scales, so we are going to set the Yugioh here. We're going to activate Dreamia. We are going to special summon the Dreamia. That's a thing we can do, because we're really, really cool like that. We could Musician here. I think Musician is actually one of the better calls, so let's make ourselves a Musician. We're then going to scale our... Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to do Yugioh back here, which was like, we can't even do Dreamia back, which is really, really sad. We're going to go for Beautia, because unfortunately we have screwed this up horribly. We're going to go for Harmonia. We're going to add a... we're going to increase the pendulum scale of one of our cards to make this a 3. And we're then going to grab one of them back to our hand, and we're going to grab Yugioh back, because we can't summon it anyway. We're then going to pendulum summon, so we can bring out both Joyous Spring and Dreamia, ironically. We are actually going to summon the Ash here. And the other has an odd pendulum. Yeah, so, wait. I thought that would trigger it. Did I misread it? Oh, no. When you pendulum summon a Solfachord monster, you could target one of them, add a Solfachord monster from your deck to your hand whose level equals the pendulum scale. Oh, we don't have a 2 scale. Ah, shit. It does not end up mattering too much here, though, because we do still have place on this. We're just going to get rid of these 2. We're going to make an IP Masquerena. We're going to make an Avramax on that. And that is the end of our play, unfortunately. So, again, pendulums have the innate issue of, oh god, what do I do? Oh, great, it's Blue Eyes. That's not fun. Blue Eyes is going to be terrible for us, because we are going to get hit with the Dragalubion, and Dragalubion is probably just going to straight up kill us, even though we are both indestructible and can't be targeted. There is still cards that can sort of screw us over here. Again, an Avramax is not a terrible position to be in, though. Avramax is still a very, very good card, especially when protected by IP, but we're also playing Pendulum. I mean, we're playing Pendulum where our game plan is not to create negates. It's kind of weird. We're going to see what they end up doing here. He's going for the Monster Reborn, which I find to be funny. Going for the White Stone of Legend. Probably going to Synchro into Azure Dragon, I would assume. Could do some other weird here. We do have Yugioh. If we do get another turn, we can still start up and do more stuff. Most likely we're not going to be able to do that, though, because here comes the big boy himself, Halki Fibrax. Meaning he's probably going to keep looping his, yeah, there is Return of the Dragon Lords, unfortunately, so we are going to see a big dragon. Probably Boral Sword, I'm going to guess here. I'm not entirely certain. Probably Boral Sword. Going for Stellar Wind Wolferite. That's an interesting one. Okay. Once per turn, this card's for higher, you can shuffle both this card and all monsters your opponent controls. Okay, well, I have no effects on the board currently, so Wolferite doesn't really currently do anything. Because it has to be another monster's effect to activate. He does just end on that, which is kind of interesting. But I assume that is just going to summon... Yeah, okay. So he's going to go for the Abyss Dragon. Abyss Dragon is going to trigger twice here, which is going to give him more attack power than what he definitely needs. It does need to be 4,000 or higher, though, but it is 34 at the moment. This is scary. For the time being, we just need to go into battle here, and we need to get rid of the Wolferite. He is going to tag this out, which is going to get Formula Synchron, which is going to push him to 4,000. No matter what we do here, that pushes him up to 4,000. Oh, he's actually going to Baron de Fleur, which is insanity. Okay. Well, with that, at the very least, This sucks. We're gonna go for Yugioh. We're gonna activate Yugioh that we had in hand. He is gonna hit it immediately. We then get hit with a Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, and we basically lose the game here. We're gonna go for adding one here. We're gonna go for our Dreamia. We can still special summon the Dreamia, not that it really does us anything. We can activate this to change the scale of that. We can then Pendulum summon the Angelia that we have in hand, which is crazy to think. We could sack off something here to try and rebuild our gates a little bit. I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to sack the Dreamia. Dreamia is going to allow us to summon the Fancia. Fancia's effect, of course, is going to let us add a Pendulum monster to our extra deck. We're going to go Eldlich. We now have Harmonia's third effect, meaning we can destroy a card here, but unfortunately Jet Dragon, of course, is going to protect it, because that's what it is. I forgot Jet Dragon is a fucking card, and we are definitely losing this one here. Doesn't matter that we can go into this. We have nothing to fight it, unfortunately. We're just going to scoop it up here. Yet again, suffering from pendulum disease, literally losing to a single piece of destruction. Unfortunate. Let's go for the last game of our Solfachord friends. Right then, for our last attempt at Solfachord today, we have drawn into Solfachord Scale, which is not something we want to see this early necessarily, but we have also drawn into our Diviner of the Herald. We have to hit the Black Awakening here, because this does mean we're playing up against Eldlich, and Eldlich is one of our worst nightmares, because he is just going to keep hitting us with the trap cards over and over again, and it is most likely going to be enough to just downright destroy us. We do draw into another Diviner, which we did not want to see, but when we summon Diviner, most likely he's going to think we're playing Drytron, but we're going to activate it anyway. We're probably going to get hit with a fat whatever. Impermanence, of course. That ends our turn. No question, that straight up just ends our turn. Not much we can do about that. Let's pass turn. He's gonna banish the Eldlich and get his Eldlich place started. Yep, there is Conquistador. Don't know why he activated that now. That's kind of weird. Why would you... Why... I'm super confused. What just happened? He entered it into the zone where Impermanence was, and then it returned to being a trap card? What? Wait, hang on a minute. What the hell? Did it just turn itself into a permanent trap card with no effect because its effect was negated? Wait, what? So wait, it turned itself into a trap card, right? Yeah. Because its effect to be a monster was negated. Huh. I have never seen a permanent face-up Conquistador. That's insanely cool. What the fuck? I got nothing on that one. That's just really interesting. What in the world? This game was worth it just for that. I've never seen that interaction before. Wow, okay, I'll take it. Unfortunately, we are now in a losing position to Eldlich yet again, which, shocking nobody. Yeah. Our hand is nowhere near good enough to do anything about anything here. We're gonna normal summon Diviner. Diviner's going to get hit by Conquistador. It does not. We're gonna send the Hierarchia. We're gonna activate Hierarchia, tributing this. We summon the Hierarchia, activate the Diviner from the graveyard. I don't think this is enough, though. I was stupid also to set scale in the Pendulum Zone, which I find to be really funny. Because I didn't think about it. Alright, we're gonna summon Yugioh. Gonna activate Yugioh. We are going to, with Yugioh, get Dreamia. And with that, I think we're just going to scale Angelia, even though it is one of the worst scales we have. We just need something scaled. If he just pops this, we basically lose the game here. He is going to pop the scale. I'm somehow not surprised, because it's kind of expected. Popping the scale. Yep. Well, that certainly ends the game in his favor. Unfortunate. We can Phoenix to destroy something, but that ends up doing nothing here. We're just going to do it anyway, because let's be honest, we have no other option. We'll do that. We'll just destroy the Conquistador, I guess. Yeah. We have nothing. We've basically lost this one as well. Single piece of interaction really kills this deck. It's Pendulum in MR5. If we're not working to set up a bunch of negates, there is literally not much we can do. We're just gonna end turn here. We don't have enough scales to really do anything. It doesn't matter that I set scale in the wrong zone like an idiot, because we have no way of activating anything. Eldlich is just gonna beat us down to a pulp. We're gonna scoop it up because, honestly, this is kind of what I expected of this deck. Let's wrap this video up. So what do we think about Solfachord? Well, to be honest, they are some of the cutest cards in the entire game, rivaled only by Melfi themselves. And for that, I guess they deserve some credit. The thing with them as well is, if you are building a Pendulum strategy that is not limited to just being Solfachord, these cards actually do a lot. The thing is, none of them really have restrictions that locks you into Solfachord specifically, they just have their effects protecting the Solfachords. You can still use them as scales for other decks. Similarly, Solfachord Elegance, even though we didn't really get to see it in this video, is still insane, being an easy 2-for-1 just to set your scales up to do whatever you want to do proceeding. The issue, it's still a Pendulum deck in MR5. If you are not actively working with a lot of recursion, a lot of ways to special summon things outside of Pendulum, and just building up a ton of negates to protect your scales, you're gonna lose. There's honestly not much more to it than that. Pendulum in the current format are incredibly reliant on their own protection. Even a good Pendulum archetype, like Solfachord really is, even though I have literally not shown that at all this video, they just don't stack up to a lot of other things. There are so many things that need to go right for the deck to work properly. You need to draw into enough of your Solfachords. Every single combo in your deck is minimum 2 card, sometimes even 3, and even on that, the maximum we can really end on is an Avermax on our first turn, or an Appaloosa, should we wish. Under different restrictions, if I could build a deck that wasn't just Solfachord, that was, you know, a mixed Pendulum sort of deck, this would do a lot better. Things like Dark Worm, the Infinity Gates, all of that was off limits for this specific challenge because I was asked to play Solfachord, and Solfachord I played. However, if you enjoyed this episode, despite me ridiculously getting stomped multiple times in a row, do remember to leave a comment for the algorithm, click the subscribe button to see more things that I do, click the like button if you enjoyed the video, remember to support me on Patreon, YouTube membership, and all that shenanigans. If you too would like to request something for the show, do check out our stream loots on stream, because the card is there for you to acquire. As always though, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Remember to stay safe out there.